You know, we really are living in some Monty Python, Philip K. Dick state if the son of the priest tells you this sentence that he said in his stream. Uh, Guys, which state is going to cooperate with a pedophile? The soon as he uttered that sentence, I kind of had this flashback like many years ago. I think it was 7 or whenever, when he fucked an underage girl in the, when she came to his apartment, which was kind of did by the Mr. Delphin institution, and he brought that girl to himself, and then he was having mental panic attacks on over 30 minutes when he explained that he had no idea, notion, perception, knowledge, or any point whatsoever, the bigger picture, the forest from the trees, any metaphorical sense that you can think of and come across. The son of the priest is going to tell to you for 30 minutes that when he was railing a girl, that she was like a 14, 15 years old, and when her friend was sitting in the living room while she was practicing the alphabet letters from A to Z or from A to Sh, and afterwards the son of the priest does this like a very crazy thing. He kind of tells to the audience, his loyal audience with zero brain, like a walking NPC people from Oblivion or Skyrim, whichever you prefer, and he kind of goes on a rant for 30 minutes, and he says to people, guys, I have no idea that she was underage because I didn't want to ask her for ID card, and I thought that it was cool to let her in because I cannot make a distinction between a girl that's like a little summer and the girl that's like, and a woman that she's like a fully blown like a bloom. Guys, I had no idea. After 30 minutes on ranting what he was saying between the lines is, guys, I actually knew that she was like a Pokemon age of 14, 15, but I was caught red-handed with her. If I wasn't caught red-handed with her, I would have laughed my ass off in a living room as she was sucking my dick. And I was perpetrating, that was like the mafia of the state, even though, ironically, the son of the priest was sucking Velja Nevolja's dick when he was around with his cronies and people. And that's like a public secret, everybody knows, but hey, the son of the priest, all sins are... I think sometimes, at times, the son of the priest acts on as if he is the pope of the YouTube. Like the son of the priest, every time he does something shady, like the albino man said in his video, every time son of the priest does something shady, really morally, which is the thumbnail, for son of the priest there is no morality for him. So he's like the Judge Holden of Blood Meridian of Cormac McCarthy. I suggest you can read that book, Blood Meridian on the Redneck Evening in the West. Cormac McCarthy, Krvavi Meridian. You're going to see one of the most fucked up, nefarious characters by the name of Judge Holden, Sudhya Holden. The depravity he goes in that book is the same as the son of the priest goes. The only difference is, I actually respect Judge Holden because he indeed doesn't give a fuck about morality. For him, morality is a grayed out option. He considers man does whatever man wants to do. And the difference between the son of the priest and the Judge Holden from Blood Meridian is this. The son of the priest does everything for the money, for the gains, for the popularity, for the streams, for the views, for the clicks, for the buttons, for his fans, even though his fans are also taking the blame, because I understood when you were like a teenager in high school, when you were third or fourth year, but after so many years, when you were like 15, now you're 22, 23, 24 at university, and if you're still supporting the morality bankrupt son of the priest. Now, what I wanted to mention is that son of the priest has done really fucked up things that brought him into the stratosphere, or him being successful and popular. For you who doesn't know and you're unfamiliar with him, just type his name, because I'm not gonna mention him because he's kind of like one of the greatest scumfucks I ever seen in my life, and the way he earned his money, and the way he does his shady things, and the way he cooperates in that fashion is, he has mocked. So his very first start, when he started making videos for YouTube, he mocked, like put that with a red marker, he mocked a young girl that she was kind of giving the comedic timing of him breaking up with her boyfriend and whatever the fuck. The son of the priest, the fucking retard, and the Delphin retard have made a video about her. And all that negativity backlash on the girl backfired so much that the girl herself had contemplated about suicide. Now, suicide in Serbia, it's funny when it's happening to an individual, but when you put it in a collective tragedy, so it's like, imagine if somebody is like Marco Jack in this instance, where he is threatening to take his own life because the pressure is too much for him, and as the albino said, 2D instead of a 3D, 4D and 5D. Now I'm like a 5D level because I know the ways and the methods the son of the priest is functioning in his work, in his world, and I know him by heart. And the problem is that suicide is like a fun on individual scale. But if I started mocking the victims of Jasenovac, now people are gonna get severely pissed. But I get to say, with my right of knowing Serbian history, Jasenovac was like a collective suicide because somebody else would have felt offended if we resisted and we didn't, and we collaborated with the Nazis. But instead, we didn't want to collaborate with them. We kind of wanted to pretend we are so very much brave titans from Greek mythology, and instead we had Jasenovac and communism, and we fucked it up big time, and we're still 80 years later recuperating from that. Full stop. Back to this topic. Now, Marko Djek is like a antagonist from the Outlast. You know, he is like a really dangerous individual. He is not to be messed with or fucked with it because he can snap in an instance. You know, like that main antagonist in Outlast that I don't know what, Chris or something, that he catches you and he breaks your spine and your heart. That's his type of personality, you know, like the main antagonist in Outlast first part. You can also make him like a surgeon that sucker punches in the elevator and takes you, Krieger, whatever the fuck is the last name. Now, Mark Jack does not have the depths of personality where he can play that evil character, but the point is that in this case, a context, Marko Djek is an unreliable person and narrator because he can snap in an instant and he does not understand the cruelty that YouTube functions or world, and the way you carry yourself is kind of the people are going to perceive you good or bad. It's depending how you behave. In our limited mentally disabled country, with an average IQ of 89, almost 90, but I'll give it a 90 from the good because I want to. Let's circle it on 90 as my people love to do. Even still, the public mental health dialogue in my country is still like retarded and still not fully developed because the topic of suicide and taking your life, it's still like a semi-taboo in this country, and the mental health is also like a funny thing in which we take everything for granted. That's why you lost Kosovo, because you took it for granted. We take everything for granted until it's gone. And then we are going to pretend that we actually gave a fuck in the first place. Now, the son of the priest, as much as he's a scumfuck, that scumfuck cocksucker has managed to make money over people's stupidity. And he took advantage of the one trait that my people have, that stupidity and the manipulation of the children. Because if he had spoken, because he complained like back in the day, like maybe a few years ago with the Delphin retard as well, they started to create like a series of like a Serbian history and the Serbian heritage, and unfortunately it got to up to 100k views, and after he did it like a third or fourth video, then the son of the priest kind of said, nah man, let's go back to being like mentally retarded scumfucks because it gets the most clicks. Now, you can't blame the son of the priest, even though he wasn't consistent enough for him to, continue doing the correct thing and, presenting and opening the light to the people and explaining about what is more of a Serbian heritage, Serbian history. The one thing that he made a mistake is thinking that those type of things are overnight in Sorabendia. They're never. For those type of specific things in which you're kind of explaining the Serbian history, legacy, culture, mentality, philosophy, nature, beauty, dialogues, and the way people speak in Sorabendia, you need a fuck of a long time before people actually click here and say, yeah man, he's actually right. The son of the priest now is now responsible, but he was one of the main corners in which he was mocking that girl when she was like 11, 12. I guess If you're calling Marko Jack a pedophile, man, you might. I'm giving this message to Bogdan Ilic, to the son of the priest, the scumfuck gambling cocksucker. Bro, you shouldn't talk about pedophiles, because if we go back in your history of your arguments with people online, you kind of are gravitating always something towards children, and you want to take money from kids. So even if Marko Jack allegedly, he's not guilty until proven otherwise. So he's currently innocent. Now, that's also hearsay, because in law terms, I'm not a lawyer, by the way, so I'm just telling you, to the son of the priest, you stupid cocksucker, you cannot accuse somebody of being that something difficult, but if we put that in a full stop and in a brackets, bro, you shouldn't talk about pedophilia, because if the person who is known for, you know, arguing with children, intervening in their high recess, and claiming them, and you talk about that you're not drukara. If I remember correctly, in Rožman's video Kako Lako, you were actually ratting out the people who were smoking in the high recess. So that's kind of a definition of drukara. So if you want to talk about not being a snitch, well, bro, I have a very bad news for you. You know why? Because many years ago, when Leke, or whatever the fuck your former friend name was, who stole the money from you, instead of you handling the different way, in a Serbian way, like I don't know, beating the shit out of him and try to talk to him and and to tell him something like a very important, that don't steal ever from me. Again, this is the last money I'm giving you, but for now, forever, goodbye. Forever farewell to the tranquil mind, if you ever read Othello, but I highly doubt it. Now, the thing is, the son of the priest is saying you're pissing me off, and he has a lot of materials, because the son of the priest keeps accusing people of what he has done already. So as I mentioned, if you're accusing the unstable character from Outlast named Marko Jack that he is a pedophile, well, dude, I gotta tell you, you've done really shady things. That you also slept with a minor girl, like many years ago. Now, in your mind, that's kind of deleted from the public's consciousness, maybe on the conscious level, but not on unconscious. There are people who remember you actually did that, and then you went on a rant, as I mentioned in my opening video, in which you said that you didn't know that she was Pokemon age. Now, for the common sense of Serbian people, that's kind of incorrect, because the way you can see them, they're carrying backpacks, and they're like a meter 15 and 10, and they're having the child voice. You need to connect 2 plus 2. It's very easy, but like a retard cocksucker like you, it's very difficult, because I know where you're coming from, and I know you're like a manipulator, and you like to get things your way, so you're definition a bully. So there are a lot of things you shouldn't do when you're accusing people of being schizophrenic, because if you're calling a Jack a schizophrenic, maybe people should start calling you schizophrenic, because you mocked a girl who was just joking about breaking up with her boyfriend. Then you're responsible for Kika's death indirectly. I'm mentioning this word once again, so you don't take me the wrong way as you're taking the albino man or any other who is against you. I'm saying indirectly, because imagine, like, metaphorically or figuratively, you left a gun with 1 bullet in the barrel, you left it in the room, and somebody else finished the job. Because there are still people who will remember, and that's my curse to remember, you used to call out Kika and her mother for being porn stars, whores, prostitutes, anything in between. And your treatment of women is like a really bad history for you. The same way when Rožman told you that you were kind of like a Cripster level Outlast for Sara Job, then you said, and your followers, your house Negroes, they said everything has been taken out of context, in which you have like, you held the cardboard of Sara Job and you said somebody came on her face. Now, if you're a public personality like Sarajevo is, and she sees that you're holding her cardboard and you're saying you wanna that somebody came all over her face, that's kind of like a green flag of her saying, I don't want to associate with you in any lives any further along in any 22nd or 23rd century. The problem with the son of the priest is that he keeps doing the same things over and over again. He keeps finding people who are unable to stood up to him. When they stood up to him, now he's gaslighting them, like Rožman did in Kako Lako when he made Drama Salama. In that Salama, he really annihilated the son of the priest to the ground like a scorched earth. And even to this day, 6 years later, The son of the priest does not have any response, and even any responses he produced to explain why Rojman was right, it still doesn't ring the bell, or it's not even close to the explanation. All I'm saying is that the son of the priest has like a really ongoing history of him accusing people of what he has already done. He is like a gambling degenerate. He slept with an underage girl. He is also like a really manipulative person who only wants to get it his way, and when he doesn't get it his way, he throws tantrums. He throws tantrums and he accuses people of being schizo. Now, the son of the priest, if you're accusing somebody of being a schizo, maybe people should accuse you of being a schizo because you've done also shit of a ton shady things that people are aware of, but they're trying to make a distance for you. And the reason your House Negro fans are there with you is because you're producing money, and they're not there for the loyalty, they're there for the clicks and social media and popularity. If you stop producing that and stop giving them the money or something else in between of those lines in that social spectrum, those same people are going to be stabbing you like Julius Caesar ended up in the Senate. And you will be Julius Caesar in this case. Now, the problem with the son of the priest is the people are pissing me off because they still pretend as if the son of the priest is not like a degenerate cocksucker who keeps manipulating children. Now, back to the main topic of him accusing that we are not snitches. Bro, you snitched on the guy who stole money from you. You snitched on everybody who wrongs you and doesn't have the same opinion as you. The only fundamental difference is you love children as long as they give you money and clicks and popularity, and your main target audience has always been, since you started doing YouTube channel, is children. So if people are now looking back at you and are kind of going flashback retrospectively and they're looking at you, they're kind of going for themselves, yeah, this Blade Runner guy, he's actually making a point, because your career kicked off when you mocked a child. When she was making fun of breaking up with her boyfriend, she was like a really heavily underage. You took advantage of that. Kika, I think you can correct me if you're wrong, or people in the comments, Kika was also around underage-ish when you were beefing with her. So if you're accusing Marco Jack of being that, you're that yourself, because it takes one to know one. Because I'll repeat it once again, because there are some stupid and retarded people who don't fucking get it. You've done the same pedophilic things, and when it comes to the snitching, you also did that. So which state will collaborate with the pedophiles? Well, I don't know, the son of the priest, you stupid gambling cocksucker. If you look back retrospectively, November 1st, 2024 or the 21st of May 2012, this state or government alone has been cooperating with drug dealers, with any sort of form or evil people who are trying to rob this country as much as possible. So yes, the government can collaborate with the pedophile as long as he benefits them. If anybody is thinking I'm saying crazy things, go read Prljave ruke by Jean-Paul Sartre. You're going to see the same picture over and over again. Now, the problem with the son of the priest that he keeps believing that people are really having the memory of a goldfish. But not all of us have the memory of a goldfish, because you used to do that shady things, and then after you slept with a Pokemon girl, then you said you made a video and you make fun of you sleeping with an underage girl, and you were lucky that our kids aren't the brightest tools in the shed, but those are in the minority and in the vicinity of not too many people who don't want to expose themselves because of you. We're sitting in the bed kind of going, dude, that's not funny. So you can't accuse, because you're also indirect for Kika. I don't give a fuck how many times you're going to say that you make amends with her mother. And the mother did the most Christian thing. One of the hardest Christian things a man or a person can do is to forgive its oppressor or killer. So she kind of didn't want to carry, I'm talking to you from Orthodox perspective, you stupid cocksucker. She forgave you because as much as she was difficult for her to lose her child and her daughter that she loved more than she loved herself, she decided to forgive you, even though you call her and her late daughter a prostitute, a porn star, or whore, anything in between, and you made that terrible video in which you were mocking her. So now, years later, when that shit had hit the fan, when the devil hit you with the pumpkin over your head, you ran to Amsterdam, and now it's not because you also ran from Amsterdam to Amsterdam from two things: people and the backlash, and you had dreams of Kika. And that's called in Christianity guilt. because you can play this macho gambling cocksucker douchebag, but deep within, when you were sleeping, you saw Kika in your dreams, and that's why it ate you from deep within. And I think you also said to your closest people that you consider closest, and you ran away to Amsterdam because the guilt was eating you up. The same way people want to shoot you in the head because you were kind of, I'm saying once again, indirectly responsible for Kika's death. Now, this is also like a crime, because what you're doing in a stream, you're calling a person. Now we're talking seriously. I've been talking seriously from the first minute I'm holding this microphone. This guy is now calling a people with disability, and he's making fun of him on the stream. Now, my message to Marco Jack, you can actually sue this gambling cocksucker because he was taking advantage of you, and he actually knew, since it's Saturday and tomorrow is Jesus' resurrection, we're not going to go with that verbatim. He didn't know what they were doing. The son of the priest is a very calculating snake, and he knew what he was doing, because the reason he's calling you is because you're making him clicks and streams, and people want to make fun of you, not laugh with you, they're laughing at you. And that's one of the traits with the son of the priest, is because the son of the priest keeps doing the same thing over and over. It's like a vicious cycle in which he is trying to find as much. If you can go back in his history of beefing, I'm talking about the son of the priest, or the hog, Mr. Hog, or Vepar. The son of the priest always loved people who are not so much intellectually crafted, so they can create a response, even though with that fake beef with Benji Compson from my hometown, starts with a J and ends with an O. And that was like a fictional wrestling beef in which you two were arguing about the origin of the word "I'm joking." And you kind of wasted people's time with that bullshit. And you kind of did like a very Temu WWE bullshit in which, you know, like people can see through facade and the fog and illusion, as that is the case. And now in this case of Marco Jack, so as much as we know he has like issues with with his mental health, which is like a very serious topic that these people in our country are not covering, because we kept quiet from Yasinos to the Yellow House in the span of the last centuries, so you can understand where we're coming from. Because from early centuries alone, the topics of suicide and mental health have never been public in Sorabendia, because that has been like a very forbidden topic. You know, it's like in Islam, in which Al-Zut topic and the desert with Prophet Muhammad, that's like a really popular topic you should talk about. But it's not the same thing. My point is that there are some topics in my country that people don't want to talk about, and they're making fun of it, and it's not like a really funny to make a fun of a guy who might. And this is another story for him. So this is like a repeating pattern for the son of the priest. Imagine if that happens, you're gonna be responsible for his suicide, man. But not indirectly, directly responsible, because you brought him to the streams, you made a fun of him, and you did all the terrible things. So this time you avoided for Kika being directly involved, indirectly with Kika. This time, if Marco Jax says goodbye to himself, you're gonna be responsible for a second person in just the span of 6 to 5 years. So I guess every 5 to 6 years you like to claim a person's soul. And the guy on Vaso Rakočević, a podcast, he said you're an antichrist. You have the elements, man, because you like to enjoy in people's misery. You like to take advantage of people. You're like a really severely fucked up manipulator, and you love children not in a sexual way. Well, actually, also sexually, because you had sex with the girl that was 14 and 15. You were like 23. So 23 and 14s having sex, you know. It's a really fucked up thing, and you calling people schizophrenic. Well, man, the things you've done for the sake of YouTube career, that's also can be attributed to schizophrenia, because you really have done really shady things in the past, and now in the present is just you are asking for Donald Trump, the mega guy, to get you back your accounts, but that's not the case. But all I'm trying to say is, in this case scenario, you are responsible. If the worst scenario happens, that's on you, my friend. And this time, you're gonna shoot yourself in the head with this move. So think about it. You're gonna shoot yourself and end your career if Marco Jack decides to end his life and take his life. You're gonna be responsible, nobody else. Now I know what you're thinking. You're gonna pause. If you ever watch and stumble across my video, you're gonna pause and try to gaslight me in so many positions, but it's not possible, because in these 24 minutes I've spoke the truth and nothing but the truth. and you cannot spin it even if you want to. Now the problem is with you, you stupid cocksucker, is the problem that you're going to be responsible for his death. And now I know you're a manipulator, and I know you're a gaslighter. You're going to say, what does that have to do with me that he committed his suicide? Well, dude, you brought him on a stream and you made fun of him numerous times, and you're bringing him for the clicks. When he stood up against you and he accused you of bullshit, you were said, oh my god, why is this schizophrenic guy making scenes about me? I don't know, man, because those people that are not in the right frame of mind, I'm talking about in his case, there are some people, even though Marco Jack sees 2D, but he can sense that something is wrong with the energy and with the vibe. Why am I talking this to you? It's like you don't have that intelligence to understand. You have this different social intelligence that you're taking advantage in this case. So it's a pattern for you. You keep doing these things, you keep claiming people's souls. Whoever associates with you, you're like the devil that's making pumpkins with somebody, and when the early morning shines up before the sunset, you shoot them with that pumpkin and the rest are dead. I'm saying to you, before you try to gaslight people, remember, if Marco Jack, it's going to be on your hands, his blood on your hands, just like in the case of Jesus Christ. Remember what the curly people said, his blood on our hands to our children. So that's going to be a responsibility for you. Now, for people who are going to watch, and maybe it's going to be popular, but you have to understand that this time you cannot get away with this. So think about it. So you already did the damage. The other 50% is Marco Jack is actually going to do it. And I'm not saying he should. Don't try to gaslight me or manipulate me. I'm not saying he should, but if it does, it's going to be on you, you stupid gambling degenerate cocksucker son of the priest. Now, I wanted to finish my sentence and my point prior to me finishing this video. The problem with you is you keep acting like the Pope or the Vatican or Catholic Church in which you're pretending that you're always absolved of your sins because your father is a priest and you're the son of the priest. That doesn't work that way, my friend. So absolving sins is something Catholic Church created like centuries ago, and it's one of the most phony bullshits in the history of religion. Now, religion is a very complex topic, I'm not to get into that, but when it comes to Orthodox Christianity, that sin is going to be with you forever as long as you're alive, my friend. And remember, you're 30 years old, you're turning 30 in September. You can no longer hide behind that innocent child. You can no longer say that you did it for the joke or for the butt of the joke, because we all know when you're the butt of the joke, you stupid gambling degenerate cocksucker, that you like to complain and rant and bitch and moan and spin the truth. But in this case, in context, I'm going to ask the people who are going to watch this long video from A to Z to A to Sh. So before I finish my video, I have this one question. But before my question, I just want to thank you for coming to the Blade Runner 2147, Mr. Cat, Stefan Heller, and to message to the son of the priest, to Bogdan Ilic, to the degenerate cocksucker. So let me ask you something, actually two questions, apologies. My first question is, have I lied in this video from A to Z, from the start to the finish? And my second question is from one of my favorite movies, No Country for Old Men. Anton Chigurh asked Carson Wells, sorry, not the greatest director, for Citizen Kane. He asks Wells this. The second question for the son of the priest is, if the rule you followed brought you to this, of what use was the rule? Become straight edge, Christ is King, and let us celebrate tomorrow Christ's resurrection, because the son of the priest, you may avoid these people's justice, but the justice from God will be rained down upon you. I'll see you around, you gambling degenerate cocksucker.